Hi everybody, today's video is something you guys have been asking for a very long time, and that is a guide to pointe shoes. I'm going to give you every tip I know about sizing and fitting and what you should look for, as well as some other tips and tricks. So this is kind of welcome to Pointe Shoes 101. The first thing I always tell people, whether you are newly going on to pointe, you've been on pointe forever, or you're an adult trying to get in pointe shoes, they must fit you properly. Don't worry so much about what brand it is. Ooh, I have to wear Freeds. Ooh, I have to wear, whatever. Doesn't matter. What matters is how they look on your foot, how they feel, and how they fit you. Obviously, the thing to do is go get professionally fitted at a dance store. And don't go in with a sort of set mindset that I'm going to get a certain brand. Try everything they have. Go on a Saturday afternoon when you've got nothing else to do and try every single thing they have, because they might have a brand that you had not even thought of that looks beautiful on your foot. So that's the first tip. Try everything and make sure you get properly fitted. Don't just kind of go online and say, okay, I'm a street size shoe 9, so that means I'm a 6 in a pointe shoe. That's not how pointe shoes work. There's some little things I'm also going to tell you to look for, but it's different. You can't just order them like normal shoes. So go get fitted. Those of you with really archy feet obviously need a stronger shank. So I would look into ones like 𝐕𝐢𝐝𝐞𝐤. 𝐕𝐲𝐻s tend to have really hard shanks. Also, some of the 𝐂𝐫𝐿 are really good for people with really good feet. Don't wear Freeds. Freeds are the ones that break really, really fast, especially in the box. Now, if you struggle to get on pointe and you need a little bit softer shoe, Freeds might be a good fit for you because they're a little bit softer. However, if you need a harder box, I would look into the Freed wing block. I don't know if they sell them online. Many of the professionals wear them, but wing block, all it means, if you don't know what it means, it just means that there's extra glue in the tip. That's all wing blocks are. Word of warning, however, anything that says wing block is going to be super hard in the box. Super, super hard. I tried wing blocks when I was in the company because my Freeds were just dying super quickly, and even I couldn't get over them. So unless you've got really strong feet or really archy feet, I would stay away from wing block. Because it's extra glue. And remember, with jet glue and things nowadays, you can always add your own extra glue. You don't need to buy a shoe that has a ton of glue in it. You can be in control. The other thing to look for is the box length. If you've got really short toes, don't get a big long box. You're never going to get over your shoe. You're going to want a little bit shorter box. And again, I don't know all the specifics for all the brands, but I tend to know that 𝐕𝐲𝐻s are a little bit longer. More of the Russian brands have longer boxes than some of the European brands. This is block. This one's a block. That's what I wear. It's kind of in the middle. I have sort of medium length toes, and I really like this sort of length. But for me, a 𝐕𝐲𝐻 didn't work because it's too long. And when it's too long, this hits right above your toes, and you can't get over it, no matter how good your feet are. So also look at box length. Shorter toes, you want shorter box. Longer toes, you want a longer box. The other thing that people don't know when you get fitted, the shank itself, this is the hard part. Let me just show you this thing, right? This should not stop at the end of your heel. It should stop in the middle of your heel. If it stops at the end of your heel or goes past, it's also going to prevent you from getting up because this is going to be hitting your heel. If you're struggling with pointe shoes, if you feel like you can't get over, if they feel weird to you or are twisting, it might be because they're too long. This should hit in the middle of your heel, not at the end of your heel. So a way to get around this, if you just don't want to buy any new pointe shoes, is cut off some of that shank. Maybe take a pair of pliers and cut off maybe this much, and just put some tape over it so it doesn't dig into your foot. But that's where a lot of people end up getting messed up, is that they measure this to match the end of your foot like any normal shoe would. But this needs to hit the middle of your heel. Some brands make longer fabric than shanks, and that's good because you have, what you want it to fit around the heel. But just check where this is hitting you. Have somebody look. Is it going to the end of your heel or past? It's too long. And so what I tell people to do is either cut it or go shorter and wider. You don't always have to go longer, you know, try different widths. For me, like I told you guys many moons ago, I was in a shoe that was 4 sizes too narrow because I was told that it looks good with skinny long feet, but I needed to actually go shorter and wider because my toes were like all cramped up. You want your toes to feel snug in a pointe shoe, but not to the point of this. When you're standing flat, they should be flat, not curled up. That's a good way to tell. Standing flat, your toes should be flat. Yeah, so maybe shorter and wider if your shank is too long. Just another little tip. Where you tie your ribbons is also important. I can do an updated how I sew my pointe shoes for you guys because that was one of the very first videos I ever did way back when with a really bad camera and everything. So if you want an updated how I sew my pointe shoes, let me know. But I like right behind the seam, not in front, behind, because if you sew it too far in front, when you cross the shoe on your foot, it's going to cross on your arch. You want it to cross more up near the ankle so you show off your arch. Have you ever seen some people where the ribbons are literally still near the archy area and not up where they should be, and it just looks kind of weird? It's because their ribbons are too low. You want to have the ribbons slightly further back for the most flattering look. So I just do right behind the seam. That's what works for me. And it's a kind of trial and error thing as well, you guys. You need to sort of maybe safety pin and see how it looks best on your foot because everybody's foot is different. So play around with your ribbons, but my advice is don't sew them too far down because another reason for that is if they're too far down towards the box, that's going to prevent you from getting on point. That ribbon is going to be fighting you, and you're going to be fighting the ribbon trying to get up because obviously we keep our ribbons really tight. So if you're struggling, your ribbons might be too low because you're trying to get up and the ribbon's pulling you back. So move the ribbon back just a little bit and that might help you get on point. A lot of you have asked me, my shoes are too small, my feet swell up and they don't fit, I can't get into them, but I don't want to buy a brand new size. Trick. #cheat. Cut the inside of your pointe shoe. The inside layer. Every pointe shoe has 2 layers of fabric. That's what I did for these. What you do is you make a slight little slit in the first layer, and you'll feel it because the scissors should not go all the way through. And then cut a little slit from the seam to the heel. You can also go a little bit sideways if you want to, but that will make your shoes fit you a little bit better and increase the size without actually changing the size of your pointe shoe. So you know how we go to a dance store and we get fitted when it's just a random day and your feet aren't swollen, but then you get to the performance and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't fit in my shoes. Quick snip inside, it makes the world of difference. I'm telling you guys, do it. As to ribbon and elastic, a lot of people like different things. I recommend invisible elastic. It just doesn't really show and it's a lot less mess around your ankle. This is the 𝐕𝐢𝐝 brand. No, actually this might be block elastic, but 𝐕𝐢𝐝 also has some. As to ribbons, I love these elastic ones by Block that are really stretchy because you want to protect your Achilles. Oftentimes we tie our ribbons so tight, and if that ribbon has no give in it, your Achilles is going to be put through the ringer and you're going to have some big problems later. It's harder to plie, you know, it's harder to roll through, but if your ribbons give, your foot can give. So I recommend these by Block. Bunheads also makes those flexors that aren't fully elastic, but they have the little elastic insert at the Achilles that you measure and tie. I used to wear those when I was in the company. When I switched to Block, I started wearing their ribbons. And for me, these are the best because while they stretch, they don't flop. You know how sometimes you tie your shoe and the ribbon is still loose no matter what you do? This you can tie really tight, it doesn't flop, and yet it still has some give in it. So I recommend some sort of stretchy elastic ribbons and invisible elastic. It's just a bit of a cleaner look for your pointe shoe. So guys, the main thing about pointe shoes is try everything. You know, it's good. It's not an overnight process. You're going to have some shoes that you don't like. We've all been there. I'm not so knowledgeable of all the brands that I can tell you, oh, get this, oh, get this. But like I said, if you need a bit of a harder shoe, I would go more Grishko, more Russian. If you need a little bit softer, I would go block. If you need really soft, I'd go freed. And nowadays, even the pointe shoe brands have different shank strengths you can get. So there's just so many things nowadays with pointe shoes, so that you just have to kind of try. There's no real like, oh, if you have this kind of foot, you get this kind of shoe, you know? So just try, make sure you get fitted properly. You know, don't just buy something online and hope for the best. Pointe shoes are so tricky because most of them are handmade. So no two shoe will be alike, you know? Every pair is going to be slightly different if they're handmade. So try everything. Remember about the shank. It should not hit the end of your heel. It should hit the middle of your heel. And always remember, you can go short and wide. If a shoe is too small, doesn't mean that you need to go up a length. You might need to go up a width. Just kind of reframe that. Only if you have really, really strong feet do you need wing block. You can always jet glue your own shoes. And then just, again, play around. Play around with where you like your ribbons and elastics. Like I said, I like them sort of in the middle instead of towards the front. It's just a better look. But again, that's for my foot. You're going to have to just trial and error. There's no magic pill with pointe shoes, okay? So if you want some more information, like a different video of how I sew them, it's pretty much the same process, but let me know in the comments below. If you guys want more information on brands, I will do my best, but again, I have not worn enough brands of pointe shoes to know everything specific about them. And just remember the little trick to making them bigger is cutting the insides, okay? I hope this was helpful. Just some quick tips. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll do more pointe shoe videos, since that seems to be a common thread on my channel. Pointe shoes, who knew? If you missed my video on 3 hacks to save you money when buying dancewear, kind of cool, click it to watch. It's right there. Love you all so much. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday.